The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire, the triumph and tragedy behind our safety laws today. Immigration started around 1880s to the 1920s, besides the Pilgrims' immigration in the 1600s. Between the 17th and 19th century, about as many as 650,000 African immigrants came to the U.S. and were sold into slavery. A third were from Ireland, and many came from Germany. The people that ran factories could lower wages as much as they wanted to because people would work for anything, especially immigrants. Typical workers would work as much as 16 hours a day and 6 days a week, earning as little as $8. Men earned twice of what women would earn. Factories were also so dirty with smoke, many would come out covered in black. Many people would hold strikes, but it was no use because immigrants were flooding in. Nothing could be changed. Around 5 to 9 people would share a room at once. The space was limited, and diseases were spreading furiously. There was not much medicine around to cure diseases, so many had to just hope they would stay healthy. Middle-class workers were people who were very skilled. They had profits left to afford to move out of the slum of the city and into the suburbs. Although there were many middle-class workers, it did not compare to the amount of immigrants living in the slum of the cities. The living and working conditions for immigrants were dreadful. They were overworked and underpaid. They were treated unfair, and most of all, nothing truly changed until much, much later. July 13, 1900, Max Planck and Isaac Harris are approved to start construction on their new factory. January 15, 1901. Construction starts. (1908) The owners expand the factory to the 9th and 10th floor. June 1909. The owners are recommended to attend a meeting about safety precautions, but it is never held. November to December 1909. 30,000 women hold a strike, consisting about higher wages. February 1910. A slight increase is made to the workers' wages, but working conditions remain the same. October 15, 1910. Max Planck and Isaac Harris building safety inspection passes. November 26, 1910. New Arc Factory in New York kills 25 workers in a fire. March 16, 1911. Safety precautions are highly suggested to the owners, but nothing is done about it. March 25, 1911. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire occurs. In the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire, 146 people die. Although the fire lasts for only 18 minutes, it causes major destruction throughout the entire 3 floors at the top. The fire starts at 4:30 p.m. on a Saturday in Manhattan, New York. It involves the owners, Max Planck and Isaac Harris, and about 600 workers and managers / other bystanders and people that died or escaped. There were the immigrant workers that were mostly women. They just came to work like another normal day. And then the fire started. The cause is undetermined, though many people think it most likely happened because a cigarette was thrown into the waste bin and eventually the fire spread. It was an accident, as many think, although there were many things that went wrong. The hose in the factory was old, so no water came. The elevator could only hold 12 people to escape. It later broke down. The downstairs door was locked, so they were trapped. The firefighter's ladder didn't reach, so people had to jump. They either got horribly injured and died later, or just died right away. The net that the firefighters held broke after 3 people jumped simultaneously. The fire was stopped only 18 minutes later, causing major destruction. The 146 people that died were taken to 26th Street, where they would be identified. By 2010 to 2011, just short of 7 years ago, all of the bodies were identified. The New York Times newspaper featured the story, including interviews with the survivors. They provided food and care to survivors and their families, and to the families of the deceased. On the day of the funeral for all the victims, they held a march to mourn their deaths. Over 120,000 people marched, and about 230,000 people watched the march on TV. After the fire, many people participated in strikes. The strikes began leading to other strikes in other shirtwaist buildings, and by Christmas, about 723 people were arrested. 2 weeks after the fire, the owners, Max Planck and Isaac Harris, were on trial for manslaughter. Their judge was Thomas Crane, and they were defended by Max D. Stewart. Police were there in case the victims got fired up about the situation. On the other defense was Charles S. Bostwick, who was the assistant district attorney. The trial started on December 4th, 1911. On March 11th, 1914, it was settled that they would have to pay $75 per life lost. 36 new laws were passed many years later. They all covered ways to stay safe. For example, many improved sanitation conditions, such as washing and bathroom facilities. One of the main laws reenacted was use of fire safety. There was an increase in emergency exits, installment of firewalls, easy ways to access fire extinguishers, alarm systems were installed, and automatic sprinkler systems too. Also included were prohibition of night work and beginning of minimum wage. Although the government had a big say in these laws, a part of what helped enforce them were workers demanding better working conditions. These 36 laws were all very necessary in making our history's legacy what it is today. My interview with social studies teacher Amy Randrup. As I've researched, there were many strikes that took place about working conditions being resolved. Did immigrants mainly participate in strikes? If so, would they be in more trouble for participating than lower class citizens? Immigrants are not as likely to strike or join unions as American citizens were. They would be fired much faster for speaking out. If the door wasn't locked in one of the floors, do you think the number of deaths could be decreased by a large number? Well, yes, I believe that unlocked doors would have helped. However, oftentimes the corridors are blocked and narrow, and even if they are unlocked, many get trapped. After the fire, the 146 bodies of the deceased were taken to 26th Street in Manhattan to be identified. By 2010 to 2011, they were all identified. Why do you think it was so important that these bodies were identified? Out of respect and for closure for families. Do you think that this topic had a great impact on our lives today and in the future? Yes, I do, but without studying the history, we're likely to forget and then go backwards. We'll often talk about deregulating the businesses to allow them more freedom. In July of 1909, just a little over 2 years before the fire, a safety inspection was strongly suggested to be held with Max Planck and Isaac Harris. Never happened. Again on March 16, 1911, just a little over a week before the fire, another report involving safety precautions goes out to their building, but again, nothing happened. Why do you think they declined? If they didn't decline, do you think anything could have been done? Again, there is not much urgency to do anything until something happens. Because of this tragic event that happened on March 25, 1911, these people got a vision of what their future might become if things weren't done right away. Many people went on strikes, started unions, and they joined together because they believed that there was a future hope for their generation and for generations to come. Because of their actions, they finished in triumph. So that this tragedy that happened on March 25th, 1911, would remind people of their success in our history's movement today in 2019.